This is the story of how one man killed 19 of his brothers in a single day, and how this mass murder was not only legal but expected, required, and celebrated as good governance. January 1595, Topkapi Palace, Istanbul. Sultan Murad III has just died. His son Mehmed, now Mehmed III, inherits the Ottoman throne. He is 29 years old. He has just become the most powerful ruler in the world, commanding an empire that stretches from Hungary to Yemen, from Algeria to Persia. His first act as Sultan is to order the execution of every male relative who could challenge his rule. 19 brothers, all sons of Murad III. Some are adults, some are teenagers, some are children. The youngest is still an infant. They are brought before executioners. Silk bowstrings are placed around their necks. One by one, they are strangled. Their bodies are laid out in the palace for Mehmed to confirm their deaths. 19 corpses in a row. 19 brothers who woke up that morning as princes and died that afternoon because their brother became sultan. This is not murder. This is law. This is the Ottoman system of succession functioning exactly as designed. And it will not be Mehmed's last family killing. Years later, he will strangle his own son, Prince Mahmud, because the boy became too popular and therefore too dangerous. By the end of this video, you will understand how political systems create incentives for mass murder, how succession laws turn family into existential threats, how rational governance can require killing children, and why the Ottoman Empire, one of history's longest-lasting and most successful states, built fratricide into its legal code and called it wisdom. The Ottoman Empire in 1595 is one of the most powerful states in the world. It controls 3 continents: Europe, Asia, and Africa. Its military is feared from Vienna to Baghdad. Its wealth rivals any European kingdom. Its bureaucracy is sophisticated and efficient. But the empire has a succession problem. And that problem is built into the system itself. Ottoman succession does not follow primogeniture. The eldest son does not automatically inherit. Instead, any son of the Sultan can potentially claim the throne. This is deliberate. The Ottomans believe the most capable son should rule, not merely the oldest. But this creates a lethal competition. When a sultan dies, every prince knows he must either take the throne or die. There is no middle ground, no retirement, no exile. The new sultan will kill all rivals to prevent civil war. This is not paranoia. This is historical experience. The Ottoman Empire has suffered devastating civil wars when multiple princes claimed the throne simultaneously. Brothers fought brothers. The empire split. Armies clashed. Thousands died. The solution from the Ottoman perspective is brutal but logical. Eliminate all potential rivals immediately. Kill them before they can organize resistance. Prevent civil war by making competition impossible. In 1478, Sultan Mehmed II, Mehmed the Conqueror, who took Constantinople in 1453, formalized this into law, the law of fratricide. It states explicitly, "Whichever of my sons inherits the sultanate, it is proper for him to kill his brothers to ensure the order of the world." This is not a secret. This is not a crime. This is imperial law, written down, publicly known, expected. When a new sultan takes the throne, everyone, including the brothers who will die, knows what is coming. The logic is coldly rational. A civil war kills thousands, weakens the state, invites foreign invasion, damages the economy, destabilizes the empire for years. Fratricide kills a dozen people. It is quick. It is certain. It prevents any possibility of succession dispute. The cost is a few lives, all royal, all privileged, all understood to be expendable for state stability. From a pure cost-benefit analysis, fratricide is efficient. Kill 10 brothers to save 10,000 soldiers. The math works. The Ottomans are not being cruel. They are being practical. This is the system Mehmed III inherits in 1595. He does not invent fratricide. He does not choose this law. He is born into a world where killing your brothers is normal, legal, and required for effective governance. Mehmed knows this his entire life. As a prince, he understands that when his father dies, one of two things will happen. Either he becomes sultan and kills his brothers, or one of his brothers becomes sultan and kills him. There is no option where everyone survives. The system does not allow it. Letting brothers live creates rivals. Rivals create civil war. Civil war destroys the empire. Therefore, brothers must die. When Murad III dies in January 1595, Mehmed is not the only possible heir. Murad has been prolific. He fathered over 100 children, 20 sons and more than 80 daughters. Most of those sons are alive when Murad dies. Mehmed is the eldest surviving son, which gives him the advantage. But under Ottoman law, any of his brothers could theoretically claim the throne. And some of them have support from their mothers, from palace factions, from military commanders. Mehmed must act immediately. The longer he waits, the more time his brothers have to organize resistance or flee. The moment his father's death is announced, the succession competition begins, and Mehmed intends to win it by eliminating the competition entirely. The executions are carried out by mute executioners, palace servants who have had their tongues cut out so they cannot speak of what they do. They use silk bowstrings. This is the traditional Ottoman method for executing royalty. Why bowstrings? Because shedding royal blood is considered sacrilegious. Beheading or stabbing would spill blood. Strangling does not. The method is considered respectful even as it kills. The brothers are brought before the executioners one by one. The bowstring is placed around the neck. It is pulled tight from behind. Death comes from asphyxiation. It takes minutes. It is not quick. It is not painless, but it is bloodless, and in Ottoman logic, that matters. 19 brothers die this way in a single day. Some resist, some beg, some accept their fate with resignation. They knew this was coming. The youngest is reportedly still a baby. He is strangled in his cradle. Their bodies are laid out in the palace. Mehmed inspects them personally. He must confirm that all potential rivals are dead. This is not cruelty. This is due diligence. A sultan who fails to verify deaths might find a dead brother leading a rebellion months later. Mehmed's mother, Safiye Sultan, allegedly plays a role in organizing the executions. As Valide Sultan, Queen Mother, she holds enormous power in the palace. She has waited decades for her son to become sultan. She is not going to let rival princes threaten that. Some historical accounts suggest she personally encouraged or even ordered the executions, though Mehmed bore ultimate responsibility. Whether she was ruthless orchestrator or protective mother depends on the source. Either way, she understood the system's logic. Her son's brothers were her son's greatest threat. The executions are not secret. The empire is informed that the new sultan has secured his throne by eliminating rivals. This is expected. This is normal. Chroniclers record the number of brothers killed as a simple fact of succession, not a scandal. Foreign ambassadors report the executions to their home governments. European courts are horrified. They do not practice fratricide on this scale, but they also understand this is how the Ottomans maintain stability. The system works. The Ottoman Empire does not suffer succession civil wars the way European kingdoms do. The 19 dead brothers are buried with royal honors. They are not criminals. They are victims of the system. Their deaths are not punishment. Their deaths are policy. Mehmed reigns for 8 years after killing his brothers. The empire remains stable. No succession war occurs. No rival claims the throne. The fratricide accomplished its purpose, certainty. But Mehmed faces a new problem. He has sons of his own, and one of them, Prince Mahmud, is becoming too popular. Prince Mahmud is Mehmed's eldest son. He is intelligent, charismatic, and well-liked by the palace and military. As he grows older, factions begin to form around him. Some officials whisper that Mahmud would make a better sultan than his father. This is dangerous. Mehmed is still alive and ruling. But if Mahmud has enough support, he could attempt to depose his father and take the throne early. This has happened before in Ottoman history, sons overthrowing fathers. Even if Mahmud is personally loyal and has no intention of rebelling, his popularity creates risk. Ambitious courtiers could use Mahmud as a figurehead for a coup. They could manipulate the prince into challenging his father, claiming they act in the empire's interest. From Mehmed's perspective, his son has become the same threat his brothers once were, a potential rival with enough support to challenge the throne, and the solution is the same as before: eliminate the threat. In 1603, Mehmed orders the execution of Prince Mahmud. The prince is strangled with a bowstring, just like Mehmed's brothers 8 years earlier. The official reason is that Mahmud plotted against his father. Whether this is true or fabricated is unclear. What is clear is that Mahmud was too popular, and popularity among potential heirs is itself a form of treason. Mehmed has killed his own son using the same logic that justified killing his brothers, preventing conflict by eliminating rivals. The system that required him to strangle 19 brothers now requires him to strangle his own child. This is the trap of the fratricide system. Once you establish that killing relatives is acceptable governance, the logic extends indefinitely. Brothers threaten you, so kill brothers. Sons threaten you, so kill sons. Anyone with a claim to the throne is a potential enemy. The law of fratricide created stability by preventing succession wars. But it also created a nightmare where every royal family member is a potential corpse, where fathers execute sons and brothers slaughter brothers, where being born into the royal family is a death sentence unless you happen to be the one who takes the throne. Mehmed III dies in December 1603, just months after killing his son. He is 38 years old. His reign lasted 8 years. He killed 19 brothers at the start and his own son at the end. His successor is his remaining son, Ahmed I, who becomes Sultan at age 13. Ahmed does not kill his brothers. Instead, he begins a new Ottoman practice, imprisoning potential rivals rather than executing them. This marks the beginning of the end for the law of fratricide. Later sultans confined brothers to the cafes, the cage, a section of Topkapi Palace where princes are kept in luxurious imprisonment, unable to threaten the throne but allowed to live. This is progress, in a sense. It reduces the body count, but it also creates new problems. Princes raised in the cafes, isolated, uneducated in governance, sometimes mentally unstable from confinement, occasionally become sultan anyway if all other heirs die. The empire sometimes ends up ruled by men who have spent their entire lives in prison. The Ottoman fratricide system reveals something fundamental about how political institutions create incentives for violence. The problem is not that Mehmed III was uniquely evil. The problem is that the system made mass murder rational. Succession laws determine who rules. If those laws create ambiguity, if multiple people can credibly claim power, they create incentives for violence. The would-be rulers must eliminate each other or risk being eliminated. The Ottomans tried to solve this with fratricide: kill all rivals immediately, prevent civil war through preventive execution. This worked in the sense that the Ottoman Empire rarely suffered succession civil wars after implementing the law. But the cost was institutionalized family murder. The law of fratricide made killing your brothers not just acceptable, but legally required. It turned every royal birth into a potential death sentence. It made family the greatest threat. Other succession systems create different incentives. Primogeniture, where the eldest son inherits, reduces ambiguity, but can result in incompetent rulers. Elective systems, where nobles choose the king, create incentives for bribery and faction building. No system is perfect, but few systems explicitly legalize mass murder of relatives as a feature rather than a bug. The Ottomans looked at their succession problem and decided that killing children was preferable to risking civil war. And they were not entirely wrong. Civil wars in the early Ottoman period had been devastating. The empire nearly collapsed multiple times due to succession disputes. The law of fratricide prevented that. The question is whether the prevention was worth the cure. Did avoiding civil war justify strangling babies? Did political stability justify a system where brothers executed brothers and fathers killed sons? The Ottomans answered yes. For over a century, the law stood. Sultans killed dozens of relatives, and the empire remained stable and powerful. Modern nations face similar trade-offs, though rarely so explicitly violent. How much freedom do you sacrifice for security? How much violence is acceptable to prevent greater violence? How do you design systems that prevent abuse without creating worse incentives? The Ottoman fratricide system is an extreme case, but the underlying logic, preventing conflict through preemptive action, even if that action is morally horrifying, appears throughout political history. The law of fratricide also reveals how systems perpetuate themselves. Mehmed III did not want to kill his brothers. He was not a sadist, but he was born into a system where that was expected, where not killing them would have been seen as weak, dangerous, and foolish. Once the law was established, each generation reinforced it. Sultans who had killed their own brothers were not going to admit that was wrong. That would make them murderers rather than dutiful rulers. So they defended the system, justified it, passed it to the next generation. The fact that Mehmed III killed his own son shows how thoroughly he had internalized the logic. He applied to his son the same reasoning that had been applied to his brothers. Popularity equals threat. Threat must be eliminated. Family is dangerous. This is how brutal systems persist. Not because every generation agrees with them, but because each generation is shaped by them, benefits from them, and cannot imagine alternatives. The change came only when a sultan, Mehmed I, was young enough and secure enough to break the pattern. He kept his brothers alive. The empire did not collapse. Civil war did not erupt. And future sultans realized that maybe, just maybe, mass fratricide was not actually necessary, but it took a century and hundreds of dead princes to reach that realization. The story of Mehmed III is not about one man's cruelty. It is about how institutions create monsters. Mehmed was not born wanting to kill his brothers. He was born into a system that required it. The law of fratricide was not created by evil men. It was created by practical men trying to prevent civil war. But practicality can justify atrocity if you are willing to accept certain costs. The Ottomans accepted the cost of fratricide because they valued stability above individual lives. They built a system where killing your family was governance, where strangling children was statecraft, where mass murder was law, and it worked. For over a century, the Ottoman succession was stable. No civil wars, no disputed thrones, just dead princes and secure sultans. Mehmed III strangled 19 brothers in one day and his own son years later. He did this not because he was a monster, but because he was a sultan. And sultans under Ottoman law killed their relatives. That was the job. The real horror is not that Mehmed was unusually evil. The real horror is that he was entirely normal. He followed the law. He did what was expected. He acted rationally within a system that made murder rational. 19 brothers died in a single day because the system required it. A son died because popularity was dangerous, and the man who ordered all these deaths was not a tyrant breaking the rules. He was a sultan following them. This is the terror of institutional violence. It does not require evil people. It just requires systems that make evil logical. And once those systems are in place, good people will commit atrocities while believing they are doing their duty. Mehmed III killed 20 family members, 19 brothers, and one son. He did it legally. He did it rationally. He did it to preserve stability and prevent civil war. And that somehow is more horrifying than if he had done it out of madness, because madness can be contained, but systems that make murder rational can perpetuate for centuries. The law of fratricide was law for over 150 years. Hundreds of Ottoman princes were strangled because the system said their deaths prevented greater violence. Were they right? Did fratricide prevent civil wars? Yes. Did those prevented civil wars justify the dead children? That is a question the Ottoman Empire answered one way, and history may answer differently. But the dead princes cannot answer at all. Their deaths were policy. Their bodies were proof the system worked. And their names are mostly forgotten, remembered only as numbers in the execution tallies of sultans who followed the law. Mehmed III strangled 19 brothers in one day. Then he strangled his own son. Then he died, and his surviving son inherited a throne built on family corpses. This is not ancient history. This is human nature under institutional incentives. This is what happens when systems value stability over lives. This is governance as mass murder, justified by law and necessity, and it lasted for over a century because it worked, not morally, not humanely, but politically. The dead princes were the cost of stability. And the Ottoman Empire paid that cost over and over until finally one sultan said, maybe we should stop. But by then, hundreds were already dead, strangled, bloodlessly, legally, necessarily. The law of fratricide teaches that the most horrifying systems are not the ones imposed by tyrants. They are the ones that seem rational, that solve real problems, that work as intended. Mehmed III was not a monster. He was a product of a system that made monsters. And that system was not insane. It was logical. And that perhaps is the most terrifying part.